Hi guys, welcome to Second Perspective. My name is Paul Weston, and over there's Tom McLaughlin. Today we're going to be doing a QQ. We're going to be doing a discussion on The Place Beyond the Pines. If you're wondering why he keeps doing that fucking hand thing, it's because I told him it distracts me and I can't concentrate on it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he's being a wiener.
Please be on the pine, man. Get back to it. Come on.
But yeah, so we're going to be doing a discussion on Place Beyond the Pines. And I'm excited because I really enjoyed this film. And I think there's quite a bit to talk about. And we're gonna, as you can tell by our title, the thing that we're gonna talk about first is the structure and how why we think it works in this story and that changing protagonist, whereas it doesn't always, and in fact, usually doesn't. At least in the films that I've seen, it hasn't worked. So I'm just gonna throw Torin right into the fire with his red-like beard. And why don't you let us know exactly why you think it works with this film and not necessarily with other stories?
Yeah. Why don't we let us?
Why
Why don't we have some lettuce and salad? Yeah. Structure. There's a lot of it going on here. There are so many structures. You almost can't count them. I managed to. There are three. And it's like a holy divinity, a holy trinity, because they're all part of the same story. I think I have never seen Crash, but apparently this is the way that the film Crash works as well. It's a bunch of interconnecting stories that just have, or like if anybody's seen Arrested Development, the fourth season, where it's like very meta on itself, and like it's all being told at the same time. It's just all one story from different perspectives, and you switch over into another character's perspective when they cross paths, sort of thing. This story is like that. There are three acts, and they mesh together. And I think I can't remember a film that's done that, that I've seen. So I almost have nothing to compare it to. But I thought it was really clever. I really appreciated. The more I think about it, the more I appreciate the integrity of each of the three stories, as well as the thematics of the whole, And I think that each of them sort of pays homage to, or constructs itself with a very different mood, and through very different like focuses on character interaction and that sort of thing. Like one of the things that stood out for me in Ryan Gosling's story at the beginning was this weird moment where he's in the forest, and the guy who eventually becomes his bank robbing partner, he's like zooming through the forest on his ATV sort of thing, and Ryan Gosling just like looking through the trees, and it's like, is this going to turn into a murder, like a horror story? It's got that like innate sense of foreboding, and then Ryan Gosling goes towards that, so it tells you something about his character, and it also creates a tension and a suspense that sort of it follows through on in that arc too. And in the middle, there's like this whole crime boss feel with Ray Liotta, who we should like his acting. I mean, I almost can't take him seriously since I've seen Anthony Hopkins like feed him his own brain fried in garlic and butter. But whatever, he's great, and he hardly needs to act, but he still manages to pull off anything. Anyway, I thought like that middle scene where there's all this like anxiety at the dinner table, like sort of social pressure, and money and drugs involved, is very like tropes of the crime genre, and that the first half doesn't indicate at all that it's going there, and and that's part of the strength of the film, is it just switches tack so quickly on the first transition, and then the transition between 2 and 3, between Bradley Cooper, his rise through the police ranks or whatever, or his rise to Attorney General, and his son's friend. I can't remember his son's friend's name. What is it?
Are you talking about AJ and Jason?
Jason. Yeah. So it switches to Jason as the last protagonist of the film. Those two are so interconnected, and they just draw each other out in certain ways. So they're both of the second and third resolve themselves in the same moment, right? It's not that way in the first, and in a way, the first, second, and third all resolve themselves in that moment. But Ryan Gosling obviously fucking dies, you know. So like his character arc, that's cut off there, and he doesn't come back into the story until everything is wrapped up, when Jason points a gun at Bradley Cooper's head,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought it's hard to explain because like there are so many details that make each of the three parts work as stories in their own right, and there are emotional arcs, especially between Ryan Gosling and Eva Mendes in the first, that are very strong and highly tense. You know, you want him to succeed, but you know that he's got a wrong sort of outlook, and but he's still like skillful enough. You think he might pull it off and that sort of thing. And then in the middle, Bradley Cooper is like it's a more austere, conventional, like Godfathery type feel. You know,
I will say that part of the reason why I think the second act works quite well is that we've seen all this stuff before, but I felt like it was clever enough with it how it got Bradley Cooper kind of stuck into the corrupted cops kind of thing. Like I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect them to bring him to Eva Mendes' house.
no,
right? So you think like, oh, I thought like, I don't know, are they gonna bring him to like a strip club or something stupid like that? And like I think that's what the film does really well is it sort of it knows you have certain expectations and kind of turns them, right? Like, and they do that with the first act as well. Is that like you expect Ryan Gosling to maybe get through it, and because he starts doing all these good things, and then like as soon as he's starting to show some sense of like understanding or like emotional understanding, like not being a total freak show, he goes and whacks somebody with a fucking wrench. Like you're like really, really. But also it does something like even then spins the expectations right there, but then also does a little sort of mini twist at the very end of that scene where you think maybe he might just like you would think he would just like run for it or something.
I thought he was going to take the kid and just walk out of the house and take the baby.
Yeah, right. But all he does, he just sits at the stairs, right, and he just goes, "It's over," and then you're like, "Wait, what? Holy crap, he's staying," right? And so like it always kind of subverts your expectations of these characters, and I think that's one of the reasons why it works. And the thing that I really liked is like, okay, so with the second act that I was sort of meant to get to is like Bradley Cooper's character, Avery's sort of like, the thing I'm struggling with is, I have a hard time looking at my own son, and part of the reason is because I know that I've basically killed the father of another infant child. And somehow the writing gets to a point where it gets, I think, a very believable and organic way that Bradley Cooper's character can go and actually pick up the other character's child.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a very hard way to get the story to that point without it feeling sort of forced. But I believe that the cops would want to bring him to that house, and I believe that Bradley Cooper would want to go up there, and I believe that she would put the money underneath the bed.
Absolutely.
Right? And so they and that just, honestly, that just takes, one, a good writer, and two, it takes time to go through all the other potential writing ideas to get to the one that goes, aha, this fits not only thematically, but also fits in the moment, right? And that's usually that's so difficult with stories, is that people often find the moment that works right now, but they don't find the moment that works for as a whole, or they find the opposite, right? And so that's, for me, part of the reason why this script works so well is because it somehow, even though the three stories could theoretically be separate, it has one or two very key links to other two stories rather, and almost every single moment works in sort of the whole thematic arc, right? And so that's why I think it works when you can change protagonists, because, like, why don't we just get to it briefly, is that, like, often why stories don't work when you change protagonists is because it just doesn't, there's no complexity, there's not enough depth. But because you, even though it's the second story, and you're focusing on a different character now, the things that he does also brings more complexity and more depth to the characters that are dead or are going to come up next, right? And like that, so they're always finding ways to flesh out the other characters that are not there anymore, right? And so what a lot of other stories do is they just change character, but they kind of ditch the other one. right? And they don't
Yeah.
continue that sort of arc. So I think that for me, that's why it works.
Yeah, no, that's really good. The more that you dig into the detail of like at a molecular level, the writing is excellent. Like just in terms of what is the most dramatic action to have Ryan Gosling do after he's just smashed somebody in the face with a wrench, you know, which is also pretty dramatic, and you don't expect it. You're right. To pick up a baby, you know,
Yeah.
there you go. Change the focus. You follow him down the stairs with the camera and make it organic, like he's just leaving the scene of like a great excitement, but it's still very exciting and anxious in another way. Yeah, I mean, once the story, like once Ryan Gosling gets shot, it's a big change. And you're not sure how the stories are going to relate, or if it's just going to be about Bradley Cooper's life now. And then they give you some space to think about that, and then Ray Liotta and the gang take him back to Eva Mendes' place within about 10 minutes, you know? So
like, one thing we
really,
should mention, sorry, one thing we should mention is, like, back when this film was made, and it was sort of in theaters and stuff, like, it was marketed as a Ryan Gosling film, right?
That's great.
So a lot of people were kind of shocked, and I was kind of pissed. Like, this is the second time I've seen this film, but I remember enjoying it quite a bit. I think so. I'm pretty sure I did, because I remember looking over at someone in the theater being like, "What the fuck? They shot Ryan Gosling?" Yeah, I did see it in theater. I just got that image now. And like that in itself is pretty bold, right?
Yeah, well, you love Ryan Gosling, so I thought, like, whatever, kill Ryan Gosling, cool.
What? Fuck you. Anyways, yeah. I will have no problem admitting I have a huge actor crush on Ryan Gosling, and I think he's wonderful. I think he's perfect, but
whoa,
he's not perfect, but he's wonderful.
Wow, you just said you think he's perfect.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really hard thing to emphasize, and I don't really have the elegance or the articulation right now to do it. But I think you did a good job pointing out like the sort of molecular structure all the way up to like the organic whole of it. It's about like sort of atonement and sins of the father, or can we escape our past even if we had nothing to do with our past, sort of thing. And so I think like in terms of Bradley Cooper's punishment for killing Ryan Gosling, which is sort of, I don't know if he totally deserves.
That's actually something interesting. You and I had a different opinion.
A serious punishment. Yeah, we were talking about like the optics or the like procedure of the cop, the chase scene where he then enters the house, Bradley Cooper, and goes upstairs and kicks down the door and shoots Ryan Gosling. And I was like, makes sense to him to shoot him because Ryan Gosling has a gun in his hand and he's just robbed a bank and tried to outrun the cops and like potentially taken this woman and her son hostage, but then sent them out the door. So he's, doesn't seem to know what he wants, and it's unpredictable. And Bradley Cooper, like, I think makes a mistake by going into the house in the first place. You're right about that. But I think when he does kick down the door, then he should have shot him. But he didn't
here's
need
my
to be in that position. He could have waited for backup, but Ryan Gosling could have like jumped out a window or started shooting at neighbors or started shooting at anybody from inside the house. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think like there are enough questions there though that the story creates. Should he have been there in that place in that situation? That emphasize, because otherwise it would not be like if he was completely justified in killing Ryan Gosling,
the film wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work as much because he has this guilt over abandoning this son, which is a bit of dramatic irony because like he doesn't know that Ryan Gosling was not there in his baby's life and actually had just made the sort of moral, emotional decision to move on, Anyway,
well,
so
the thing
I thought that was really clever, but
yeah, and like I obviously like don't have to get into it or anything, but like I do disagree with Torin and being like I don't think that Bradley Cooper, even when he kicked down the door, should have shot him. Like anyway, so we don't have to get into all the details, or whatever. Like,
I mean, it's either shot or be shot in that circumstance, I think.
Yeah. Maybe. Anyways, you and I both agree you shouldn't even kick down the door. But anyway, so the script clearly does a good enough job that there is a moral, ambiguous sort of nature to it. Like, should have been there in the first place, whatever. The one other thing I'd like to bring up is sort of why I think it works, sort of the three separate stories, is that the thing that it also does to sort of connect all three of them is they do it in a bit in a script way, but also very in a very strong visual way.
Yeah.
There are like just some of the examples. Starting in the third act, Jason is he goes to steal the oxy pills from the pharmacy, and it's shot the exact same way as when his father would rob a bank. It's one long shot. It follows him in. It stays at him. Doesn't cut or anything. And he goes in and out on a bike. Right? So it does that. Okay, it gives one structure. So kind of similarity. Like, look how close he is, like his father.
Yeah.
Another thing, Avery doesn't realize that when he's trying to give that money back to Eva Mendes' character, that's exactly what Ryan Gosling tried to do just before he got shot, right? So that's that sort of dramatic irony. Kofi, when I'm jumping around a little bit because my brain's not totally on structure. Kofi brings Jason after he asks his mother, who is my father? What is he like? Did you hate him? To the very dairy place that Ryan Gosling brings Jason himself to when he first has his ice cream. They don't ever mention it, but it's there. I can go on forever, but there are a number of There are a number of very very strong sort of dramatic irony images or lines or statements that again sort of reinforce the idea that like even though these characters are different, they're still sort of the same, right? And like I think that's one of the big strong things that is in this film. And like let's start talking sort of less about like the structure and sort of more about the themes. And one of the ones that we can think of is like maybe one of the things is like we're not necessarily all bound by our parents' fate. And like one of the quicker ways to simplify everything is like whereas Ryan Gosling would smack someone over the head with a wrench, and when he would panic, he would go and rob 2 banks. And like try and hold people hostage and stuff like that. Jason, when he's put in this position, he puts a gun to everyone. He gets to a very precarious position, but also he doesn't shoot him. Right, he makes a different decision. And I find it kind of interesting that like the thing that also I think stops him from killing him is like the mistake that his father did. Right, because the mistake that his father did goes on to Bradley Cooper's character, who then carries that who then carries that weight of guilt, which then forces him or gets him to say, "I'm sorry, Jason," to Jason himself, right? So it's a weird kind of all connected. So like we're not all bound by our parents' fate, but like our parents' mistakes and choices do affect us. So I thought it was kind of an interesting way of doing it. I know that you mentioned there was a lot about like fathers and sons and that sort of thing. I was curious if you had a particular thought you wanted to bring up.
Well, I mean, it's sort of the same thing there. When you were mentioning the parallelism in like the scenes, locations, like the ice cream shop sort of thing, is the site of the photos that they take, and then the father-son like park bench ice cream thing. It made me think about the way that this film specifically could not have been shot like on a grander scale. It has to take place within this one location, you know? And at the beginning and at the end, Ryan Gosling comes into the city. He's already there, but he's just about to leave, you know? Decides to stay. And at the end, his son decides to leave. And just visually, like at the very beginning, Ryan Gosling is in a cage, literally in a cage, in a motorcycle. And at the end, his son rides his motorcycle off down the road without a word, hands over $500 and just takes off. And it's sort of this like Jack Kerouac like vision of.
Explain that for the less educated like myself.
I mean, if you've never read On the Road, then you don't deserve an explanation. On the road, it'll take you like 2 days. It goes so quickly. Basically, like a road under motorcycle wheels or something. Though they prefer junked up cars in that film. I mean, it's just the dream of finding one great red line. I think drawing one great red line across America, and then finding out pretty quick into it that that's not going to work. And it's just about like their adventures going from coast to coast in artistic communities and that sort of thing, but basically trying to capture something Walt Whitman-esque about like the size and variety of America as a great experiment in republicanism, in freedom, you know, like trying to find out what that is for yourself. Anyway, and so there's like this great. The point is, there's this great sense of potential when what's his name, Jason, when Jason rides away, even though like he's just come through so much, you think, and he's hard on his mom. He's the first thing he says after he wakes up from being almost beat to death by AJ is "you lied" or "you liar" or something.
Yeah, you're a liar.
She's crying, you know, because he takes it. That's a strong motivating principle of his desire and the way that he organizes his life is his feeling for his father and his sense of loss and his sense of being misplaced or mistreated or just wanting to have known his dad, you know? So I think his character is not going to come home, even though he sent his mom the photograph. There's something, I don't know, he cares, you know, but he's his own person just like Ryan Gosling is. So he inherits some of these traits and he also grows and learns and he like, you know, moves. I don't know. There's just lots going on about fathers and sons in there. And Bradley Cooper kills another person's father and then feels like sort of an incomplete father, I think, in his own right, and is a bad father, it seems, and tries to make up for his guilt or whatever by becoming successful. I don't know what it is. That there's some ambiguities there. I understand less Bradley Cooper's relation to AJ, you know, than Ryan Gosling's to his son, and I think maybe that's his punishment, is that he just he doesn't
get to be with his son on a
he
level.
Just doesn't get it. Yeah, and it's almost like Ryan Gosling and Jason are closer in some sort of spiritual way than Bradley Cooper could ever hope to be, you know. And I don't think that's just due to the guilt of killing Ryan Gosling. I think it's something in his nature. Where he rolls over on people and, like, you know, in the first place is a coward and lets himself be taken advantage of because of his cowardice, sort of thing. But I think, I don't know, he's not entirely to blame there too, and this is just a really clever film. I don't know what it's saying about fathers and sons. There's sort of like a prodigal aspect to it. There's a return to something. Like there is a return of a son who is the figure of the father, but at the same time, it's not a return to anyone specifically or to any specific place. It's sort of a return to just like possibility and the open road, you know?
Well, do you have another theme that you want to touch upon, or do you want to just get straight to sort of AJ, sort of our kind of...
Yeah, let's talk about AJ, because that's different than like these broad themes. We've been talking about broad structure and broad themes, and let's talk about what the fuck is AJ's character doing?
Like when you, like the very first time you see him, he's just got the face that I kind of like. I wouldn't ever, because he beat the shit out of me, but I would kind of just want to punch, right? Yeah, he looks like he's pissed off, and it's sort of like, I get it. Like it's well cast, I guess, if you wanted to be a douchebag, and like he acts like a douchebag. But whereas like every other character seems to be quite multi-layered, and like they do have their vicious, evil sides. They also have sort of the engine that's like the good little engine that's running that evil, right? Whereas just AJ seems like a bad apple kind of through and through. And I'm not sure if like, sorry, I was just gonna say I'm not sure if that's it speaks to like sort of Bradley Cooper's guilt and like ineffectual nature of being a father or something, and like that's sort of what it speaks to. But yeah, like I didn't see any good.
Well, I think it speaks to the theme of like inheritance more, and like especially inheritance in like a material way, privilege. You know, he's a bastard because he doesn't have room for emotional connection with his parents. Yeah, but like, you know, and that might be a product of privilege. Like maybe his dad's success. The mother character is not. She doesn't figure very heavily into it. She just disappears, and it's like what?
Well, you know? Like it says that they got like, or they never say it, but you basically find out that they're separated, right?
Yeah. So like maybe there wasn't room for him to attach emotionally or that sort of thing. But I think also it's just like a comment on like a trust fund baby who really has no redeeming qualities, and the only sort of role he plays socially is to dominate other people, because that's sort of all he knows or expects of himself, or thinks he's entitled to.
So my question
So,
to you then, for this, do you think that works well in the story, or do you
right.
think there could have been something different or
Yeah.
better, or something that could have been more articulate for the story?
I mean, I think it does. This is more about Bradley Cooper's attachment to Jason. I think is more significant than his attachment to his own son,
Mm-hmm.
in a way. But we also don't get to see as much an interaction between them in the film, like Bradley Cooper and AJ. You know, so there's that sense. But there's a stronger connection. Bradley Cooper sees himself through Jason in a much bigger way than he does through AJ, which I think is significant, and I don't know if it requires any more explanation than that. But like AJ's like his character, the acting, I just like can't get over it. Like I understand that he's a dickweed sort of thing, but there's this one scene in the locker room and in high school, and he's like, "That's your dad." You know, he says something about your dad, and he's like, "That's your dad." He's being like ironic and like playful or sarcastic or like shit disturbing. I'm too cool, and I'm gonna play up even the fact that I'm too cool to be. But I think he's even too. He does it too far. They could have reined in a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that performance.
But it was an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, and like that's. I feel like if any character is a sort of a plot device, it's AJ.
Yeah.
Which honestly is pretty. Like if you're doing a story of like 7 or 8 characters, it's pretty good to have one character being a plot device of like 8. But yeah, like that seemed like it was a bit problematic, and that's probably the only thing that stops me from giving this like an A+. Is that one of its fairly integral characters are excuse me, a plot device, right?
Yeah, and at the same time, it is pretty believable who he is because of his situation between parents and with the situation of his dad, like the privilege that he's like born into, sort of thing. Not to say that those people are necessarily uninteresting, but there's a will to dominate, I think, that he constructs out of an emptiness that just can't be filled because of his dad's position in life, sort of thing. And I don't know.
And even then,
it's all there. I can't really put it together right now. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no. Even then, it's a fairly interesting plot device to watch, right? Like, as you said. The last thing I'll talk on is sort of even on a smaller, more vernacular level, as you said earlier. I really like the longer shots in this film. I really do. Yeah,
me too.
I don't. Sometimes I'm not a huge fan of it, although like one of my favorite films is Birdman, so like maybe I'm just totally full of shit. But that chase scene where he's riding the bike through the cemetery and stuff might be my favorite chase scene.
Oh man, you haven't seen the chase scene from Monty Python, where the guy gets to choose how he dies.
Yeah, I have not. No.
It's he gets chased off a cliff by naked women. That's his final choice. And they're all wearing helmets for some reason.
Well, anyways, coming back to this particular film, I really enjoy that. Often chase scenes, like I've watched like 4 Bond movies in like 2 weeks, and there were some chase scenes and action scenes that I enjoyed, like Casino Royale and that sort of stuff. But like this one, for whatever reason, takes the cake. I loved it, and I think the reason is that it just had enough of the sort of shakiness, and I felt visceral, and that it felt like a POV, but it felt like I was just the other person in the car, and whereas like some action sequences have those long shots, but it's like very clearly defined, and it's all like you can tell it's a camera movement and all that sort of stuff. With this one, they somehow managed to integrate the sort of hyperkinetic nature of the quick cuts and shaky cam with a long shot, or sort of the realism of a long shot, because like you can't fake a guy like flying into a barricade and like landing awkwardly and getting onto a bike. Well, it's a long shot, right? And they didn't try very hard to hide any of that stuff. And so like I think I got with those shots, I think I got the best of both worlds. And I think that's why I enjoyed this particular shot so much. And I think it utilized it so well.
I thought it was really effective too.
Yeah. But
I mean, sometimes you don't have to say more than just to appreciate it, I guess. Like I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good time to end. Do you have anything, last remarks that you want to mention, or any sort of last thoughts that you have before we say goodbye to the internet?
I don't know.
Yeah. No?
I don't know. It's just a really good film. I want to watch it, go back and watch it again, because I drank like 8 beers when I was watching it, and I don't remember all of it that well. So there's always that too, you know. So
yeah, that's the thing. Well, don't worry, I was sober for the both of us. Other than that, guys, thanks for sticking on for the discussion. I really enjoyed this film. In case you didn't hear it in the review, I actually gave it an A. Torin was on a B+, A- side. So he's decided to give it an A-.
Wait a second. This is Skype. I got to do this.
No, you had it right. No, you had it right the other way. Yeah, right there.
Is it right like that?
Yeah, which is
strange.
It
shows up weird on mine. I guess it flips it when I don't know.
Anyways, we learned about that's with Skype. Things flip, but it stays normal for people. Anyways.
Weird. That's so crazy. Anyway, Ryan Gosling's really hot. Wow. I want a tattoo like that right there.
Yeah, well, you should draw it right there for you. Anyways, we'll leave you with that thought right there, the thing that you're seeing right over. I think it's on that side. Anyways, guys, thanks again for listening to the discussion. My name's Paul Weston. Over there's Phil McLaughlin. Again, Second Perspective. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Yes, bye, Internet.
Bye.